Hi, my name is Crystal, and I was one of Allison's students in Greek University at Elon University. I was raised in the church, but then kind of walked away from my faith for a while, and when I came to college, wasn't walking with God and joined a sorority for the primary reason that everyone else around me was doing it. So for that whole first year of college, I lived the stereotypical sorority girl life. And then my sophomore year of college, God really came after my heart, and I ended up giving my life back to Christ and really pursuing and growing in my faith a lot. But as I was growing in my faith during this time, I started feeling really conflicted because I was still a part of my sorority and I wanted to grow my faith with God, but I still loved my sorority sisters and I didn't want to walk away from them, but I didn't know how to make these two worlds come together, how to be Greek and be Christian at the same time. I really loved my sorority sisters and I wanted them to know Jesus, but I didn't know how to do that. At that time, I found out about Greek IV and started getting involved and started meeting with Allison for discipleship. And it was through my involvement with Greek IV and especially through my time with Allison that I received a lot of really good teaching and training in how to connect these two worlds. And one of the ways that I learned to do that was to lead this Bible study in my sorority that was really geared towards seekers and skeptics, a place where women in Sigma Kappa could come and ask their questions about faith and life, and we could look at the Bible and see what Jesus has to say about them and have open conversations about it. And so one day I was on campus and I ran into Devin, one of my sorority sisters. And just to give you some quick background about Devin, at this time she was living the stereotypical sorority life, but also she was a really good person, just trying to be really moral and do the right thing. But she was really confused and kind of lost at her direction in life. And so she stopped me on the way to my class and we had some small talk. And then she stopped me and she said, Crystal, are we having that Bible study in Sigma Kappa tonight? And so yeah, I told her, yeah, it's at 8 o'clock, you should come. And she proceeded to tell me, you know, Crystal, I've been having a lot of questions lately, like really intense questions, like what is the purpose of my life? And she said, this one really scares me, but what happens after I die? And she said, you know, I have a feeling that it has something to do with God, but she said, I'm not really sure. I don't know what I believe about God. And she said, I'll be honest with you, Crystal, I know that there are groups on campus like InterVarsity and Campus Outreach and some of these other things, but I don't feel comfortable going to those places because I feel like everyone who goes there already knows what they believe about God, and I don't know what I believe about God. But she said, you know, if it's just our sorority sisters at the Sigma Kappa house, she said, you know, I think I might feel comfortable with that. She said, so maybe I'll come check it out. And Devin ended up coming that night and loving it. And she started coming every week to our Bible study. She even started hosting it at her apartment some nights. And then I'll never forget, there was one night, about 2 semesters after she'd been coming every week, and at the end of Bible study, I told the girls, you know, if any of you ever come to a place where you feel like you are really ready for this, that you're ready to start having a relationship with Jesus, feel free to stay afterwards. After everyone leaves, I would love to talk to you some more or pray with you. And so everyone gets up, starts saying their goodbyes, and I noticed that Devin was staying seated on the couch, and as soon as everyone left, tears just started streaming down her face, and she said to me, Crystal, she said, I want to know Jesus like you do. And so I was able to sit there and pray with Devin that night to give her life to Christ. Devin is not a rare story, as awesome as it is within Greek InterVarsity. And this is why Greek IV really exists, is to reach students who would never walk into a big campus ministry or Christian meeting. But if there's a meeting in their sorority house or in their fraternity house, they might feel comfortable coming and hearing about Jesus. And the mission of Greek IV is not to just expect them to come to us, but to go to them, to go into the fraternity and sorority houses with the gospel. I became really passionate about this while I was at college, and I saw God do even more. I saw 2 more of my sorority sisters and then some other Greek friends come to Christ through some of the things with Greek InterVarsity, like our Greek conference that we have every year. And so after I graduated from Elon, I actually came on staff with Greek IV for 4 years at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill. And even past that, even further, just this past year, it's now 5 years that I've been out of college, and I'm still connected to a lot of my sorority sisters, and I still see God working. Just recently, there is one girl who is the last person in Sigma Kappa I would have ever expected to care anything about Christianity. But she came to me, and she's been in some really rough life situations this year, and she said, Crystal, I think you're pretty religious, and that's something I think maybe I need in my life, but I don't know where to start. Can you help me? So we started reading this book together. We started discussing it, and on Easter Day, I remember her saying on her Facebook status that when Jesus died on the cross, so did our sin, and when he rose again, so did our hope. And she said she was celebrating hope that day, and I'm seeing her little by little kind of walk into this life with Jesus. God has continued to grow my heart for the Greek system, but he's also used the training and the teaching that I got in Greek InterVarsity in my life now in my church. So with the training that I got in the leadership development in Greek IV, I now am in a couple leadership positions at the church that my husband and I are a part of. So for example, last summer, our pastor hand-selected 5 people from the church to kind of lead this group called the Assimilation Task Force. And what that means, essentially, is that the 5 of us would meet together weekly to come up with strategies for how do we reach people in our community? How do we get more people involved in our church? And it was really neat to see the things that I learned in Greek IV come out and bless this group. For example, just helping me think for the lost and to think, how do we go to them rather than just expect them to come into our programs, because that's something I really learned in Greek IV. I'm also a part of the missions committee at our church, which is neat because I have a real heart for missions after the things that I've seen God do in Greek IV. And then also I lead a community group at our church. So the vision of Greek IV is to see lives transformed, the Greek system renewed, and world changers developed. And I believe that I'm the perfect example of that vision coming to life.